In this video, we are going to discuss regarding importance of morphology in classification of plants. Already we have discussed importance of morphology in identification, nomenclature and breeding, and now let's start with the importance of morphology in classification. Linnaeus, known as the father of taxonomy or father of modern botany, proposed an artificial sexual system of classification based on morphological characters of plant. The best natural system of classification of plant proposed by Bentham and Hooker and is also based on comparative morphology, which is very important to decide the forms and relationship existing among plants in nature. Natural system of classification of plant is most practical and highly useful in nature for classification of plants. Engler and Pruntle system of classification has also given due importance to the morphology along with anatomy and embryology. Presence or absence of flower was the main criteria which divided the whole plant kingdom into phanerogams and cryptogams. The phanerogams were classified into angiosperm and gymnosperm mainly on the basis of whether the seeds are enclosed in the ovary or exposed outside. We found that the angiospermic seeds are always enclosed in the ovary while the gymnospermic seeds are always exposed outside. So, on the basis of this morphological characters, the phanerogams are divided into two groups, that is angiosperm as well as gymnosperm. The complete division of angiosperm was classified into classes as monocotyledons and dicotyledons. Now, this is on the basis of single or two cotyledons. The dicotyledons were separated on the basis of morphology of corolla. If petals are separate, then plant is termed as polypetally. Petals are united as gamopetally, and if petals are absent, then apetally, or we can call them monoclamidae. In this, flower perianth is present as there is no distinction of flower into sepals and petals. Polypetally are classified on the basis of prominent thalamus disc or persistent calyx in flower. Plants with hypogynous ovary and with many stamens in the androecium are grouped under thalamiflory. Plants having hypogynous ovary and cushion-like disc around the ovary fall under disciflory. Those in which the thalamus is in the form of cup or grouped under calyciflory. Gamopetally is further classified in inferi, that is ovary in the flower is inferior in position, while heteromery the ovary is superior, and bicarpellary as there are two carpels. So, apetally is further classified as curvembry when embryo is curved. If many ovules are present, then it is known as multi-ovulate. If in plants, if the embryo is very small or microscopic, then they are grouped under microspermy, and if the flower shows only presence of stamens or gynoecium, then this series is known as unisexuals. So, morphological characters are used by taxonomists because they are easily visible and can be conveniently employed in classification. Morphological characters are helpful for rapid identification and categorization of plants. But recently, more and more microscopic characters of morphology are being used for classification and identification. In morphology, the different characters are useful to mark out particular plant or family of the plant. So let's see what are different characters which are useful to mark out particular plants or family of the plant. First character, that is habit. The character from habit are useful in following ways. First, in pinus, bark character are used for identification of species. Secondly, woody and herbaceous character among plants were used by Hutchinson for his classification system. He separated dicot in two groups, woody plants as lignaceae and herbaceous plant as a herbaceae. Second character, that is underground parts. The character of bulb is important in separation and identification of genus Allium into two species. For example, bulb is clustered on rootstock as Allium sativum, that is garlic, and bulb is not clustered in rootstock in Allium cepa, that is onion. Third character, that is leaves. Leaves are important for identification in palms, salix and populus. The genus Azadirachta has been separated from Melia on the basis of variation in leaves. Azadirachta has unipinnate leaves and Melia has bipinnate leaves. The leaf venation is important for the identification of species in ulmus as well as tilia. Interpetiolar stipules are useful for identification of family Rubiaceae. Now, next character, that is reproductive sources. Inflorescence is also significant in identification of plant families. For example, racemose and cymose are the main inflorescence types, and however some of the plant families are recognized by special type of inflorescence, and hence these are Cythium in Euphorbia, that is genus Euphorbia, Verticillaster in Lamiaceae, and Hypanthodium in Moraceae, Capitulum or head in Asteraceae, Umbel in Umbelliferae, etc. Other floral characters are also important in taxonomy. For example, fusion of petals separated dicot into two classes, polypetally and gamopetally. However, presence of perianth is a striking feature of monoclymady, that is apetally. In some families, presence of calyx modification is significant as taxonomic source. For example, Pappus calyx in Asteraceae, persistent calyx in Solanaceae like brinjal, petaloid calyx in some members of Rubiaceae. Next, stamen number, fixation of anthers, adhesion and cohesion of stamen are important source of taxonomic studies. For example, epipetalous stamens in Gamopetalae, presence of gynostagium and staminal corona in Asclepiadaceae. Type of placentation is also an important source for separation of certain categories and group of the plant. Next character, that is flower. Flowers. The floral characters are more important characters than other morphological characters. These include calyx of Lamiaceae, corolla of Fabaceae, that is Papilionaceous corolla, diadelphous stamen of Fabaceae, carpels in Caryophyllaceae. A gynobasic style is characteristic of Lamiaceae family. A gynostagium is characteristic of family Asclepiadaceae. Family Euphorbia is characterized by Cyathium inflorescence, where female flower is covered by a cluster of male flowers and one stamen represents the male flower. Next character, that is fruit. Fruit characters are also widely used in identification. Singh et al. Used fruit morphology in classification of Indian genera of family Asteraceae. In Asteraceae, fruit is Cypsella type. For example, what we see in sunflower, the presence or absence of pappus, whether the pappus is represented by hair, scale, or bristle, the presence or absence of beak, its length, number, and ribs on cypsela are also important characters, and which are considered for the identification or classification of plant. Secondly, hairy growth on the testa, their length and color provide useful characters in differentiation of genera of and species of family Malvaceae, Convolvulaceae, Asclepiadaceae, and Acanthaceae. Two genera from family Liliaceae, Chlorophythum and Anthericum, are differentiated on the basis of the number and shape of the seeds. So these are different characters or morphological characters of different plants part are utilized for classification of plant. So in this way the morphology contribute, or it is very important in different fields of or branches of plant science, which includes plant breeding, phylogeny, as well as identification, nomenclature, and classification. So that's it from topic number 1.